200 people. A year ago, I was in a very dark place. In fact, most of my life has been that way because I suffer from a severe case of depression. I created this channel because I saw no light ahead of me, and I needed to do whatever I could to put some plus signs out into the world. Knowing that people not only find me and enjoy my videos, but also engage and become good friends, all the while supporting my channel, it's the most humbling thing I've done in a long time. I feel so honored that I could entertain you guys and could have fun while doing so. I never thought I would even hit 100 subs in the first year, but here I am with just shy of 9 months in and I'm crossing 200. It's a small number to some for sure, but you have to appreciate every single person that thinks you're good enough to make part of their routine. It's special, it really is. And so I've made this video just for you guys. Please enjoy. I know some of you have been waiting for it for a while now, and I realize that I've been doing this for a long time, and I've gotten several messages and questions asking about my ramblings, my way of thinking, how I behave in some of my videos. And at the time I didn't feel it was truly necessary to discuss such personal things on the internet, but now that I have all of you people here supporting me in my channel, no matter what I choose to do, there just isn't an excuse anymore I can think of. I don't see you as fans or as part of some metric analytics bullshit. You're my friends. And so I'm going to tell you 10 facts about me. These won't involve video games. Most of them won't anyway. They'll be personal. And so if you don't want to see this, or maybe if you just don't want to see a guy possibly getting pretty emotional, I encourage you to click away now. Thank you all. You have my support, just as I have yours. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel if you're new, welcome back if you're not new. My name is Scott, I go by the name PentaHybrid here on the internets, and I've been doing this channel for about 8.5, 9 months of working time. It's been about 11 months since my first video went up, but I've taken about 2.5 months total time off, so it hasn't been a complete and total full 11 months of working on this channel, and in that time I have hit 200 subscribers. That's a feat to me because this isn't something that I've been pouring myself into over and over and over again. This is just something that I picked up for reasons that I mentioned a few minutes ago in the introduction to this video, and so I just want to cut this short and go right into the 10 facts about myself. Just a little preface, as I mentioned earlier, this might get emotional, and I apologize if I do. I'm going to try my best not to, and I'm going to try to be as informative as I can about these things. And so, here we go. The first fact about me is something that not a lot of people know, and it's that I suffer from chronic migraines. I've suffered from chronic migraines since I was a child. I don't remember when they started, but it was when I was very young, and it was so bad that my mom would actually worry sometimes because I'd just be crying in my sleep, or I'd wake up and I'd just be in horrible pain. I spent countless days in a row at school, after lunchtime, because my head was in such a it was like a hurricane of pain right in this area of my head, and I would just after lunch, I wouldn't even eat lunch because I couldn't get it down. I'd just sit at the table with my friends, and the few friends I did have, and I'd just go to the office and say I can't go on, and they'd put me in the sick room, and I'd lay there in the dark until my mom came and got me. And it was tough. It still is tough, after 20 years of dealing with it. I kind of gotten used to it, but it's more of I take several blood thinning pills, several pills that have acetaminophen in it, and that's a blood thinning agent that people mostly use for like backaches and headaches and migraines, and that's because for those exact things, not a lot of people know the difference between a migraine and a headache. A headache is just a sensory overload of light or noise where a migraine is actually like a blood clot. It is a failure of blood passaging through the nerves and the arteries in your body, and basically it's your brain yelling at your body this sharp pain saying I'm not functioning correctly. And so it's just this sharp agonizing pain that sometimes gets really bad, and it depends on the situation. It depends on how bad it's going to be. Some days it's just a low dull hum throughout the entire day where it's just like, I get a little foggy, I get dizzy sometimes. But there are a few days every now and then where it completely levels me and I can't move. My neck hurts so bad that I can't even move it from side to side. And so it's very interesting. I'd like to go into more detail, but I tend to ramble enough as it is. And so the second thing is, I'm actually going to have to read this off of my sheet here because this is a very detailed one, and this is the one that a lot of people have asked me about because some people have picked up on it. Some people who watch have picked up on it, and I have several minute mental disorders. Some of them are very small, and some of them are, largely noticeable. I think the biggest one I have is my insomnia. I have suffered from severe depression, a very severe case of depression that sometimes it's very, very, almost seemingly impossible to get out of the holes. Anybody with depression or any type of disorder can understand at that point that it's not just something that, you sit in the lunchroom at school and cry hoping for attention. No, if you have depression, you don't even get to that point. You just sit and you avoid contact with other people because you don't think there's a reason for it to be happening. And then dissociation disorder it's a dissociation disorder. I'm not quite sure which one because there isn't actually like names for them yet. But what a dissociation disorder is, it's very unique, and it's actually kind of hard to talk about it because it's a conflict for me, because a dissociation disorder is there's a couple of very famous examples that suffer from it. The lead singer of Counting Crows suffers from it, and a lot of his lyrics and his songs represent that. And it's dissociation. You don't exactly feel like you're part of a real world. And that's kind of why people always notice me talking to myself, and I'll actually like have conversations with myself. And that's not schizophrenia, that's not one of those disorders, it's dissociation, because I think of my life as kind of like a novella. I think of it as a story. And so I don't fear death, I don't feel guilt as other people do. I don't cling on to memories like other people. A lot of memories like other people. There's very specific points in my life that I can imagine and picture every little color that happened, every little thing where books were on the shelves. But I don't reminisce, I guess. It's I kind of got off track there, so I'm sorry. But yeah, dissociation disorder, where I don't exactly have a clear understanding of reality like other people. And then I also have what doctors only can describe as an overactive mind. And this is something that many people in fact, suffer from. There's a lot of writers, Stephen King suffers from this, where his brain doesn't go into REM sleep as sufficiently as other people's brains do, and mine does that. It's not exactly an overactive imagination. It can be described as that because all I do is sit there and think, and I think of like poetry, and I think of art, and I think of stories, and I think of short stories, and I think of instances in my life, and then I role play them, I rework them, and think of situations, how they would have worked. It's very strange, but that's the understood cause of my insomnia, that and my migraines. So I don't have clinical insomnia. It's just some of my other things that I have cause me to not sleep very well. And when I was very young, just to cap it all off, when I was very young, I was diagnosed with ADD. And so the combination of my dissociation disorder and my ADD, you may have noticed in some of my vlogs, even in some of my videos, some of my Let's Plays, you might have even noticed where and right now I'm doing it, where I have a hard time not focusing, but I have a hard time talking and being normal, I guess is the only word I can come up with, and it's kind of a cliche term, but I ramble a lot. I have a very hard time sticking to a point, unless I need to, and I also have a very hard time looking at somebody in the eye. And to me, my camera is your eye, and so I when I'm looking at you, I feel like I'm talking to a person, not just a camera. And so I always, you can see it and watch any of my vlogs. I tend to wander, and if you listen to any of my other vlogs or my, like what I'm doing now, or even in my Let's Plays, I tend to just ramble and fidget, and it's weird. That's just me though, and I can't change myself. And I've gotten comments saying, "Oh, you should focus more. Oh, you should be blah blah blah." I can't, and this is hopefully going to be the answer to why I can't. The third fact is people often see me as different people. And the only way I can describe that is recently, several weeks ago, I was talking to somebody that I knew, and then I was talking to somebody else, and I was asked, like, why are you different when you're talking to this person than when you're talking with me? And it's not something I actually notice. I don't pick up on it. It's not something I do intentionally. It's just I react to situations rather than to different people, and it's part of the dissociation disorder that I have. It's more of like the easy way to describe it is I'm almost like I'm a character in a book or a person in a role-playing game or something like that, where I picture these options, and I within a couple of seconds I imagine my outcome, and then I go down that pathway. I don't react to a person, I react to a situation, and I do it completely unconscious. I don't actually know that I'm doing it when I do it, and then people point it out to me, and I like, oh well, I'm sorry, I didn't exactly know I was doing that. And so if you ever meet me in person and you feel like you're being treated like almost like a book, like a multiple choice question as an interaction, it's not something I choose to do. I'm not doing that to make you uncomfortable. It's just how I am, how I'm built mentally. And it's interesting. It's something I try to not do, but it's also very hard to do that because I don't know when I'm doing it. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually the one like video game centric thing on this thing of facts, and that's that I'm completely against console wars. Ever since I was younger, I have heard about console wars, and every generation it's Wii versus this, and Xbox versus PlayStation 2, SNES versus Genesis, and I'm out of the console wars. I wanted to do a rant when the PS4 and Xbox One were kind of in the height of their release, and I wanted to talk about like the console wars in general and how stupid it was, but it's just not something I even want to talk about because it's just bothersome to me, because there was a time a long time ago that gameplay meant more than money, and gameplay meant more than pretty graphics, and gameplay meant more than processing power and aesthetic, and the games that were released for a console were the reason you bought it. It wasn't game, like you look at the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 now, and they were launched with mediocre games, they were launched with very few games, and they were not backwards compatible, so it wasn't giving your gamer audience very much to go on. It's like, well, I'll just stick with my PS3 or my Xbox 360, and so yeah, console wars are completely ridiculous to me. Buy the console because of the games you want to play. Don't buy the PS4 because it has slightly better graphics. Don't buy the Xbox One because it has a slightly better marketplace, a better online network, and better games. Don't buy them because of those very shallow reasons. Buy it because you want to play a game. Not because Destiny, not because, well, I can't play this on it. No, buy it because of the games you think you're going to have a good time playing. The fifth fact about myself is my father. My dad, David, is the biggest inspiration and one of my best friends I've ever had in my entire life. And I didn't actually know this until a few years ago. I spent a large majority of my life, because of other things, either on one side of the fence. I was either despising my dad because of the strict old pain in the ass, stubborn ass man that he was, or I was on the other side of the fence where I was terrified of him and I would avoid him at all costs. But I think everybody gets those to that point in their life. And for me, it was about 18 years old, where you realize that your parents are very important and that they're not going to be here forever. And my dad grew me as a person, and I didn't even realize it right away. I didn't even know about it until I was out of the house and I was working and I was on my own, and I didn't see him every day, and I would call him every now and then, and we had a monumentally huge fight several years ago, and I didn't talk to him for a while, and he had gone through an extremely traumatic time in his life, and I was probably one of the worst children that walked the face of the earth. I refused to talk to him. I refused to go visit him while he was going through this, and I had an epiphany a while later where it was, what am I doing? What am I accomplishing? This guy bent over backwards for me and my friends as he was raising us, and he was essentially a single father working God knows how many hours a week to support us, the very little that he could, but he did it because he was our dad. And you don't realize those things until you're older, and it's stunning. It's not stunning, shocking how important you realize that your parents are. And my dad, I would not be the guy that I am today without him. I wouldn't be as into games. I wouldn't be excited about games. I would be afraid to admit that I liked him. I wouldn't be as modest or as charming or as intelligent or as creative without him. And so my dad is my best friend. He is next to my actual best friend Anthony. My dad is greatest inspiration in my entire life, and as down as he's ever gotten in his life, I look at him and I say, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better because I have him behind me 100% the entire way. No matter what I go through, is going to be there for me. The next point is a little bit of a lighter note. I'm so sorry about that. This one's a little bit of a lighter note. I am a massive introvert. Like, people are always like, are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? Like, they've kind of lost their meaning nowadays, but if you were to describe anybody as an introvert, it'd probably be me. You could probably notice this. I have a hard time talking to people. I have a hard time being around people. Even if you're on the other side of the monitor, it doesn't matter. Like, I know you're there, I know you're watching, and it still makes it hard to focus on this camera instead of doing one of these things. Or fidgeting with my facial hair. It's just very hard. And it's just a conglomeration of all the other things that are wrong with me. And so introversion is definitely part of me. I've gone several weeks without even talking. Like, no problem to it. I've gone multiple weeks without even talking to anybody. And it's because, and I have no problem with doing it. It's not something that I'm ashamed of doing. It's just, I can do it. It's not something that is required of me as a person. The seventh one was going to be a little more of a door opener into my personal life. And this is, I'm a very creative person. Obviously, you probably know that because of my channel, but it goes way beyond that. I'm a poet. I'm a novelist. I've probably written somewhere somewhere upwards of probably like 3.5 million poems throughout the course of my life. There was a couple of years stretch during my high school, middle school years where I wrote anywhere from 5 to 10 poems a day, and that was minimum. That was just from sun to night. I would just write a poem, and I'd put it in the notebook. I've filled up dozens and dozens, hundreds of notebooks of poems throughout my life, and I'm constantly still writing them nowadays. I have a note program on my phone that while I'm on break at work, sometimes I just write a quick poem, and they're all just a way of me venting. They're all a way of me not needing to talk to somebody about my problems, and I'd be able to just write, not even just my issues, just thoughts that I have. Like, I'd think about soap one day and I'd write a poem about soap, and it's just the way that I communicate with reality, I guess, if you will. I've written 12 different books. I have an ongoing expansive universe where I have of a fantasy adventure novel series within it, and then I have friends that I've invited into that series to create characters, into that world to create characters and write their own worlds about it, and they still have to communicate with me because I'm the world master. It's my world. I know where everything is. I know the lore. I know all that stuff, and they can write their own stories within it, and it's something that I created when I was 7 years old because I was bored one day and I drew a character on a notebook piece of paper, and I was like, this guy has a story. And this all came from that. I've written 12 books. I've complete books. I've written probably like 25 half-completed books or put on hiatus and never went back to them. They're all saved in notebooks and files and folders on my computer. It's just, none of them have gotten published. I hope to one day actually grow the balls to get one of my stories published, but I'm also an introvert and I have a hard time being confident in my writing. I know I'm a good writer, but that's just to me. I know I'm a good writer. I don't know if everybody else would think so. So the next thing I want to talk about is I have a very large vocabulary. If you haven't noticed through my channel, I hope that someday you will notice that I choose to use lots of different words daily, and I constantly look for new words to invest in and use in my world. And I've actually spent I used to spend a lot of my time in middle school and high school just reading the dictionary. I just read the dictionary, different dictionaries, to learn words, to just learn words, because the words have more purpose than people think they do. Like there's words that used to be commonly used that people don't know what they mean anymore, like amalgamate. People don't know what that means. People don't know what diction, actually the word diction, means, and there's just so many words in just the English language that are astounding to you, and they make you sit back in awe and just look at them and say, wow, I didn't even know this word existed. And then it becomes part of your vocabulary and you use it without knowing that you're using it. It becomes part of your everyday speak. So yeah, I like to learn new words. So next, I used to do, going back to my creativeness, I used to do a lot of drawing when I was younger. I stopped drawing a couple of years ago, and I still doodle every now and then, but I don't actually take time, hours and hours onto drawings, and it's because I lost my hope. I lost my love for it, if you will. I just, there was no ambition to make me want to draw more. I used to do amateur tattoo design. That's actually the fact I want you to know, is I used to do amateur tattoo design. I would draw designs for people to get tattooed on them. I wouldn't get paid anything for it. It was just something I did for fun because people were like, oh, that's a cool drawing. Can you draw me something? And I'm like, no, but yeah. And then I'd be just doodle something and they'd like it and they'd get it tattooed on themselves. So I know several of my friends that have drawings of mine permanently etched on their flesh. Several people I don't even know that have gotten drawings from me. I had a couple of them end up in tattoo shops on the wall for, this is the design you can get, blah, blah, blah. Featured designs or whatever. So, I mean, and then it just stopped. It became more of a nuisance to want to draw. More of a, I want to draw rather than I could draw. And that goes back to my novel series and stuff. I would do concept art because the original design for my novel series, the original design for my fantasy world that I created was to be a video game. I designed it to be a game and as a game, and so there were abilities and there were weapons and items and creatures and monsters. And over time, I'd created dungeons, and I had written, like, almost like a Dungeons and Dragons in style. I would draw blueprints of dungeons and layouts and maps and items and boss rooms, and I'd have mob placements. And this was all when I was just a kid, and I would do it, and it became this video game. And then when I got into middle school, and I started reading a lot more, I started reading novels and Stephen King stuff, and I was like, this would work so much better as a book than a game. And it would be more easily applied as a book than it would be a game, because I can't just go and make a game. I mean, I could, but it's very easy to just write a book. It's so easy to write a book. People don't even realize. I thought it was the hardest thing in the world before I started writing. You just write. That's all you do. Masterworks, Shakespeare, Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe, all they did was just write. That's it. They didn't have to get technical and program and do 3D models. They just wrote a damn book, wrote a damn poem, wrote a damn screenplay, So yeah, I used to do amateur tattoo design. That's kind of what I wanted to tell you. This last one hits home. This last one hits pretty close to home, and I'm sure hopefully some of you can share this affliction that I used to have. And this is two big parts of my life that are gone now. And they may seem minute compared to some other people that I know and some other people that I've been involved with. But no matter what it is, it doesn't matter what it is. And this is something that I think some of the smartest people in the entire world have said before. It doesn't matter. Excuse me. My nose is running, my eyes are watering. I'm getting to a certain place. It doesn't matter what it is. An addiction is an addiction, no matter what it is. Addiction is dangerous. It doesn't matter if you're addicted to chewing on crayons or if you're addicted to heroin. The addiction is still an addiction. It's a dangerous thing. I was a caffeine addict for 8 years. And it was between drinking anywhere from 1.5 to 2 pots of coffee a day, along with caffeine pills. Just caffeine pills. I just take like a couple of them, and just, I don't know, it gave me a drive. It made me feel better. It made me less worryable, and it also helped my migraines, which was the biggest reason I wanted to do it, was because it helped me. But it became so much more than that. It became the point where if I didn't have caffeine for like a day or two, I was the worst person to deal with, because it was just, I was without it. And that's the serious thing about addictions, is it doesn't matter what it is. If you go without it, you're just not good to deal with. I've stopped the capsules completely. The only pills I take now are my blood thinning ones for my headaches, and my acetaminophen pills for my migraines. My migraines. People get mad at me when I call them headaches, but to me now they're just basically a headache. Every now and then it gets worse, but you get used to it over a while. But I still drink the occasional cup of coffee, and it still tastes good. I still love coffee. I still wish I could drink more coffee, but I don't want to get to that place again. It takes a while for the body to readjust. You can't just go back to drinking a pot of coffee a day. And also, I was an alcoholic for about 2.5 years, relying too often on drinking excessively to fix my personal problems and fix my personal issues. And it didn't. It doesn't. It just makes you forget about them for a very short, brief, temporary moment in time. And then it also destroys your body, and it makes you feel awful. But in that awfulness, you forget about your own awfulness, and I guess that's the key to it, is it worth it to just, feel dizzy and puke? Or do you want to think about how you might not make rent, or your girlfriend left you, or your mom died? It doesn't matter what situation it is in your life. finding an escape in a bottle is not the solution. It is not the solution. I drink occasional alcohol. I drink maybe once or twice a month. I have alcohol here now. I have a 12-pack of Pabst, and I bought that two days ago, and I've had two of them. So I had a 30-pack of Busch over the course of this entire month so far, which a 30-pack of Busch would have lasted me maybe 2 days if I was back in 2012. 2013, 2010 to 2013, so it was about almost 3 years. I could go through $250 a month on just alcohol. I was paying almost as much as I was paying rent at the time on my alcohol budget. I was paying twice as much a month that I would spend on groceries on alcohol. I would buy a $40 bottle, $175 bottle of whiskey, and it'd be gone within the week. It'd be gone in 4 days. I could go through it over the course of 2 days sometimes if I really wanted to. So it was bad. If you're addicted to something, anything, it doesn't matter what it is. I can only hope that something occurs that will sever the connection that you have with that will break your addiction, and you won't be afflicted like I was several years ago, and you will be able to see beyond it and see it as just this thing that you can do occasionally. Like, I can have a beer and not worry about falling back into alcoholism. I can have a drink now where I can be fine. I've had 2 jars of moonshine my mom bought me on Christmas since Christmas that have barely been touched. So it's one of those things where if you're able to overcome that addiction and become your own person again without needing something to be whole, it's a very eye-opening experience. And so I just want you guys to all know that I sincerely hope that you understand me, if not respect me a little bit more now because of the way that I have been on my channel, and now you know a little bit more about me. I know very few people are going to probably end up watching this because my vlogs aren't the most popular thing on my channel. They're not filled with hot anime babes. They're not my personal opinions on a list. They're not me playing a game. They're just me talking to you, and the few people that do watch this and watch it in its lengthy entirety, Christ, this video is going to be long. I sincerely want you guys to know that 200 subscribers meant this much to me. Like, I would not have done this if it didn't mean this much to me. And it's a milestone I'm going to remember for a long time. Even if I sat at 204 for the rest of my YouTube life, I'd still remember this moment because it's exciting. It wasn't that exciting for 100. It wasn't that exciting for 75. It wasn't that exciting for 50. It was just a thing that I passed by because it still seemed so new to me. But now I've been doing this for a while. It's like, wow, the number just keeps growing and people are finding me. And so thank you all. Thank you all. I love you all. You guys are very important to me. You are my friends. And I hope you understand me a little bit more now with these 10 facts. And if you ever want to know more about me, just let me know in those comments down below. And keep on gaming. Catch you later.